This is my front yard garden that I put together with mostly free plants, and I'm going to start doing a series where I take you through the garden and how it changes from month to month. Right now we're going to look back at what the garden was like in May 2022. Hello and welcome to an update of the garden in May. Let me show you around, show you what's happening. I figure it's wise to show you an overview of the whole place because in other videos it's hard to see in context where everything is. So I believe the last time I recorded a video, it was March, maybe April. So either way, it was early spring. It is now early summer, really. One major difference is all the wildflowers have really come in on our parkway. You can really tell which part gets sun and which part gets shade. But, you know, it's a bit wild, but they are wildflowers, and what a difference to weeds. I think it's just colorful and nice, and it highlights the front of this part of the yard. As you can see, I think the last time we were here, this is all lush and green. There's a lot of weeds I need to get rid of. A lot of nasturtiums that have, you know, pretty much finished up. Not a huge difference here. Admittedly, I have a lot of maintenance to do. All the aloes have bloomed out. Some are just starting to bloom. Here's one big difference. We have these agave blue flames. There's one on either side. And they are new, but they were free. These were left on the side of the road. Another neighbor, they had basically overgrown another neighbor's parkway, so they pulled them out. You can actually see where they were sort of chopped up together. Both of them have this kind of hole in the back, but they do frame the driveway really nicely. And one of the biggest jobs with installing them was making sure to put gopher wire around the roots, because as you can see, gophers are a huge problem in this area. We had other stuff planted there and the gophers just ate it away. So I wanted to make sure that these didn't get ruined by gophers. They're pretty big, as you can see. I hope the fact that they've been trimmed back means they won't bloom just yet. That, as you know, agaves are monocarpic, so if they bloom, they will death bloom. But I think hopefully by having them chopped out, it will stave off any floral growth for at least a year or two. And hopefully we'll get some pups out of them before that happens as well. The rest of the garden, right now it's really nice and sunny, and the sticks on fire have that sun shining right through them, and everything is in bloom. The Aeonium hasn't gone dormant quite yet. So this sedum is looking a little bit rough, and I still don't have my dry riverbed. No surprise there, even though we do have the some of the stones finally. But I do want to start filling in this with some of the California gold stone that we do have. I have a lot of maintenance, got to get rid of these. I'm going to move that to make this a little bit more cohesive and put together for the summer. But you may notice there are some new aloes. These were left on the side of the road by another neighbor. Some of the other aloes are starting to kind of finally fill in and get established. This one not so much. I have another plant. I think I'm going to add some rock purslane here. That'll fill it in, because one thing I've noticed, I've added rock purslane elsewhere and it's almost gotten too big. So I think this is a nice big area, and you'll see that's those nice magenta flowers. That'll look good there. So moving up along the driveway, I think they're called African daisies. That's gotten a little bit out of hand, but it is pretty. We tried to move the African daisies that were there up there. They didn't take. This hill is going to slowly come in. I did plant some wildflowers, but it is just gopher land, so I'm a bit hesitant to put too much effort in there. This Pride of Madeira, those are volunteers, as is that one. this giant Pride of Madeira, a volunteer. The blooms are spent, so I might cut that back. And there was actually 2 large plants in there, and I have cut one out, so that one might get trimmed back a lot. Not a huge change here, but we have finally finished this little rock border, and the little succulent tapestry is starting to fill in here. Again, this is rock purslane. I think if I look back on previous videos, it was very small. That was just put in there by cuttings last summer. It's now blooming, and it's getting quite big. So this is the kind of thing that once these blooms are spent in the fall, that will get trimmed back and it'll hopefully look a little bit better. The nasturtium, again, it's pretty overgrown. I think it was in the last video. This side gets a lot of shade, so it's a little bit happier, and I'm just always hesitant to remove them when they have flowers because the pollinators love it. So I don't really want to remove them. Other parts of the garden, they're much more dried out. See, there you go. There's some butterflies. It does attract pollinators, so I do like leaving it. Here's some more. Speaking of pollinators, we do love our pollinators. There's a bee. I mean, the color of these flowers is just phenomenal. But this side probably does need some attention. On the plus side, the nasturtium means that I can kind of ignore it for a while and it looks filled in, but pretty soon I will have to pull that out. And I do have other plans for it, but we'll go along our path. We did lose, there was a euphorbia spurge there. It lost the battle to some scaly bugs. It's really disappointing. So I do have something, I need to fill that in and just give a little bit of attention to here. I'm not so sure, the ginger was here already. I think before we moved in, this was kind of a tropical garden that they stopped watering. So the ginger and the bird of paradise, the ginger just doesn't look bad. The ginger doesn't look great. It rarely flowers. It's just always looking crispy and dry. This is supposed to be more of a desert type garden. So I think I'm just gonna remove that because compared to this side, which has no tropical flowers, this side looks much better. The Senecio has finally really established itself, as have these aloes and these Aeoniums. I've put a few more Fred Ives in here. This might be, I found they don't really like that much direct sunshine. But speaking of establishing himself, an aloe is happy when it starts to throw off pups. So if you look back here, this guy's really establishing itself. So that'll be kind of cool. I think if this becomes like a really filled in aloe garden, I'm quite happy with that. Here's that Pride of Madeira I mentioned before. There was actually 2 plants in there and they were just really overpowering it. So I cut one out and I now am going to remove all those stalks. And then speaking of throwing off pups, this blue agave Americana, it is throwing off a lot of pups, and I will remove those because these plants can sort of become too raggedy when you get too many of those. So I have a lot of those. I'll probably give a bunch away. I might put some over in there just to fill it out. But the gophers do like to eat them, but if it's a free plant, it's not too bad. But yeah, so the Senecio is quite happy here. It's on this side as well. I think, it just took like a year for them to really establish themselves. They're quite happy to not get too much water now, but they needed more water to get going. So there's a lot of blank spaces in here that I do want to fill in to this path. As you notice, no, I have not put our DG in yet, but hopefully So here's another euphorbia spurge. This also is suffering from that scale, so hopefully I can save this before, I don't know if you can see in there. See those little black scaly bugs? They're just the worst, and they've just completely killed these two plants, which I really quite liked, and you know, that's what happens. There's another, I think this is another type of euphorbia. This was a little cutting that I had found at Home Depot. I had it in a flower pot. It was not getting enough sunshine, which is why it got so leggy, but I finally put it here in the direct sunshine of the front yard, and it's really filling in. I think it's like not a euphorbia cattail, something like that, but on the plus side with euphorbias, the gophers don't like to eat them too much, so that's a good thing. We've got a lot of mother of thousands, which are a little bit invasive, but again, sometimes the goal is just to like fill in the space. And of course, look what I just did. I just stood on this California poppy. That is really annoying by me. I put in a lot of seeds, and they just haven't taken. So I might need to come out here with the hose. And that's really annoying, what I just did, because I really would love to have more of those poppies here. I planted some in here. This is a volunteer oak tree. I need to take that out of there. We have a lot of these, and I believe that's our scrub jays saving acorns for later and forgetting about them. This again, this little Aeonium kiwi, it was a year ago, it looked terrible, and I guess it just took a year for it to kind of establish itself, and now it's getting quite big, and you can actually see that it's two different varieties, and I probably didn't know it was two different varieties when I stuck it in here, but I think it works. And let's say, moving on. Again, I do want to add some California gold to just make these things really feel like they're coming together. There's another new aloe. There's those agave pups. This cactus I need to plant. The blanket flower, nearly lost it to gophers. It survived, thank goodness. I've got a yucca that's yet to bloom. This is a ice plant I did not put in there, but it just keeps coming back. There's another euphorbia. I'm not sure that I'm gonna leave that there. It looks kind of out of place. I might move that down with those ones, because I have some other things I want to put in here. And these senecio that look kind of bad, but you see, they aren't totally dead. Some more gopher trouble. Some more wildflowers that I tried to get in here, but nothing happened. And I finally more or less finished this. We had all these rocks that we got from Facebook Marketplace. I did the border, it's looking good, and then my other half started dumping stuff in here. So I need to remove that. I'm not too happy about this, but this part is new. I put in some of those rocks in here. It's hard to see with the shadows, but just trying to like do a little succulent put together, and now I'm just realizing there's a brand new gopher hole, so we might have to do something about that. But a lot of these are from that neighbor who left out a load of plants in their front yard when they clipped it up, and I've now put them in here, and hopefully, and some of these are other like little propagations that I got in the backyard from my little propagation station. A lot of these ghosties. So all of these were free. More senecios. This bamboo, again, this was, thought we removed it. It's come back. I don't really want bamboo here, so I think I'm gonna get rid of that. We've got a little border of crassulas here and my little succulent tapestry with my gnomes. Looking cute. So I keep messing around with it. I keep resetting it. But that's the beauty of gardens. They can change. And, oh, looks like we lost one. This was in here. I'll have to put that back in. Hopefully. It's been really windy, but it could have been a critter that pulled that out of there. Here's some more kiwis that were looking really cute in the spring, and now they're drying out, so. And my little crassula corner. So, and our volunteer sunflower. And then on our rock wall, finally, these little sedums have, it's only taken a year, they're finally starting to grow. This looks really shady. Once it's about 11:30 in the day. So from noon onwards, this gets a lot of direct sun. And finally planted this torch cactus. It's hard to see now because it's so bright on this side. And I'm hoping that is a flower. And let's see, not a whole lot of other news. This corner is pretty much the same. The lantanas are starting to fill in. And then this area, which is like just terrible hard clay, I did plant a bunch of sunflower seeds, like a lot, in the hopes, I read that sunflowers break up clay soil. I planted tons, but only, looks like we only have 5 sprouts. So they might have been old seeds. I might need to go buy more, or they're just not germinating and it's in the soil. That could be it as well. I also just realized I should probably update you on some of the other things. This native hillside is really coming together. This is my husband's project. He loves the little flowers. And look, there's a lot of butterflies, which is the whole idea. This is like our native California pollinator garden. Ooh, there's some carpenter bees. Really, I mean, this salvia has just exploded, as has that one. It's just huge. The Aeoniums is starting to finally establish. Up here, this yarrow, even though they have gopher baskets, the gophers have just murdered them. We lost a manzanita up there. I might just reset things here because I'm realizing now these salvias are really happy up here and they fill it in and you can't see the big ugly hillside. So this is another salvia. This is manzanita. Manzanita is really slow growing. I might remove this yarrow, maybe put it up higher or actually even further over here. Push these over and let this salvia really fill in, because I'm quite happy if this just becomes a big hillside of flowery bushes. And those pelargoniums, not natives, but they were free. They did come from cuttings, and it's like also pelargoniums, rose geraniums. They attract a lot of pollinators. They smell amazing, and they were free from cuttings. This manzanita is quite happy. This is a new one. This is a native California currant. Of course, we planted it in and then it became one of the windiest weeks ever. It's kind of calmed down today. So nearly thought we lost that one, but I think it'll be quite happy here. So this is probably one of the biggest changes in the backyard. Everything has just, now that it's May, everything has just filled in, established itself. My little succulent wall here. I'm planning on doing a video of how this came together. I mean, that looks pretty cool. The raised beds, we've got a lot of these volunteer sweet peas. They look good. Another rock purslane that's just getting nearly overgrown. And this pelargonium, it was completely covered in magenta blooms. They are now spent and they need to be cut back. But I mean, this is a huge difference. This is one thing I'm quite proud of, this garden. I love it. It's a little bit wild, it smells good, it attracts pollinators. I really like this one. Back to the front here, I got this torch lily and it was looking so beautiful, and then this is what I tend to do. I did buy this, intended to plant it in the front, I just haven't gotten around to it. And It's not dead, but it's not looking great. So I think what I might do is I think I might do some maintenance. Show you, this is our little before. Might show you some after. And that will be our little May update. But what's very exciting is that this yard really does finally look established compared to videos from last summer when there was just a lot of empty dirt, and everything is finally filling in. A lot of these little pups that I have are also filling in, and that's the goal. Now that things are filling in, now it will become more about maintaining it and cutting it back.
Thanks so much for walking through the garden with me today. Don't forget, you can always check me out on TikTok and Instagram, and of course, subscribe.